That's better. I was like, the credit song for Star Fox is fine. But I like something a little bit more upbeaty. Oh god, I'll be glad when that's gone. Because I'm tired of seeing it. Because I know that's website, unfortunately, is just bad for doing language learning, unfortunately. Granted, I should really get back to that one site I found that, I was doing a lot of good on there. Also, it looks like the big archipelago is going to be in start of it's going to be delayed a couple days just because of compiling and making sure all the stuff works will take a while. It doesn't help that I believe it's around 50 people that have up to 3 games apiece for a total under 3,000 checks. That was like the criteria you had to abide by. I did 2, and I'm pretty sure mine are under 1,000. I also checked all my stuff beforehand before I submitted it to make sure it worked. So unless there was something worked and archipelago stuff after the fact, it should be fine. I need to tweet real quick because I forgot to do that before I started talking about stiff, whatnot, and all that. If you've seen the schedule, which okay, Devil Spidey has been in the Discord asking about the last couple streams because he's missed out. Made me realize something that I feel really stupid about. I have not been posting the schedule in the Discord. I've been posting it on Twitter and Blue Sky, Thursday afternoons, basically. But I have not been posting it in the Discord. I should be posting that in the Discord in our announcements chat. That way people have that for the week right there in the Discord. So next week I'm going to start doing that because I'm dumb and wasn't thinking about it. I was like, wait a minute. I should be posting the schedule. Right there in the Discord. It should go right there in the announcements page where you see when we go live on Discord. It's so dumb that I've not done that, especially when one of the folks I follow on Twitch does that all the time. Well, like I said, there is a schedule. I post the schedule. I just don't post it in Discord because I'm stupid. I post it on our other social media. That's fine. You don't have to watch everything. That's why I like the YouTube archives there. It's hey, if you want to watch something, it's there. If you don't, it's fine. You ain't gotta do that. I just gotta retweet some stuff real quick, and then I will explain what nonsense you see on screen because I've decided to do a dumb thing instead of playing Halo, which I don't know. That might be better, all things considered. Okay. I don't know if I've chose violence against super robots, but I have chosen to do a dumb thing that mainly just is me talking about stuff for, I don't know, however long it takes for Tommy to hop on for us to do the rest of the Wind Waker seed, if it cooperates with us. Look, there's a reason while I was BK'd last night, I made that in 5 minutes. It's important. It's a very important thing. Anywho, so since I've been playing SRWY off stream on my own time, and I got through chapter 3 finally, and in chapter 4, I've kind of been in the mood, I guess, to talk about it, but I didn't want to talk like hard spoilers. It is neither of those things, actually. I don't think there is a tier list for the units at the moment. And unfortunately, I've only played like 3 games of the franchise of like the 20 some odd ones that exist. Actually, I'm pretty sure there's a game tier list for SRW, but I have not played all of them. I know I saw it the other day. Yeah, there's a J pilot list, but that's not the one I'm playing. Yeah, that's a game tier list. I don't know how up to date it is. It's up to date to 30 at least, but it doesn't have Y in there. But yeah, I've only played like 3 in this like list. And like the most I can say is, well, Y is pretty good, T is pretty good, 30 is okay. And that's it. I've played like a little bit of like J, wherever it is in this list, and I've played like a little bit of like one of the mobiles. Yeah, the series has been going on since basically since the NES days, I want to say. Like, SRW 30 is celebrating the 30 years of the franchise. It's been going for 30 years. That's why it's called SRW 30. This is 30 years of crossing over various mecha franchises on all sorts of platforms. Yeah. Anywho, what I do have is basically what I think a lot of people who enjoy this franchise usually have, which is what I want to see in a Super Robot Wars game tier list, basically, or a list. I have results from a fan poll from this past year that's like, hey, here's what people voted on that they want to see. So I figured, I'll do it as a tier list because why not? That gets me talking for like an hour and change, probably. I don't know how long I can go on this. So this has 243 series, movies, other stuff. There's a couple game things in here, I know. I do not know everything on this list. There's going to be shit on here that I'm like, I don't know what this is. I am not going to bother Googling it. So this is just going to be however I feel about the thing and want to see. So just to explain the tiers, we have our most wanted veterans and most wanted rookies. Basically, it's the things I most wanted that have not shown up in an SRW game, and the things that I most want that have shown up in an SRW game. I just wanted to make that distinction because there's actually a good list on both accounts, I would say. For the crossover appeal, I may not be invested in it, but I think it would be cool for it to interact with stuff I do want to see. Supplement just means that SRW games sometimes takes material from a related piece of media, even though they're mainly adapting another thing. So, for example, Macross Delta is in Super Robot Wars Y. They're mainly adapting the movie version of it, but they are pulling units, moves, and enemies and stuff from the show version from the television show. So anything I think would be nice to have, but is not the main thing I want to see, we'll just put it in here. That's why it's blue. I don't know, is for all the things I have no idea what the fuck are. And so they go in there. And then the for other people is the, I don't like this. I don't care for this, but I'm sure someone else likes it. So I'm going to be nice and put it in here. But just know, if you give me the choice, I'm going to say no. Anywho. I took the opportunity to stage. This is just our staging area for things. So, up top, first thing I wanted to talk about, Symphogear. Now, this is a Magical Girl show, but it exists in the cross-section of Magical Girl, Tokusatsu, and Mecha, and absolutely everyone in the show can punch a hole in a Gundam if they desire, so I don't want to hear shit about power scaling. Also, I don't give a shit about power scaling anyway, so who cares? It's 5 seasons of a really good show. I adore it, and if you think, oh, you only want this in here, no, you don't. I'm not the only one. I'm pretty sure I posted this. Yeah, posted it right here. So here's those fan results that got posted, or that were done up. Just want to point you to right. Where is it? No, that doesn't look as good as the yellow. Get the #1 thing people want to see in a Super Robot Wars game that is mecha adjacent. Fucking Symphogear. I'm not the only one. The people demand it. The people demand it in droves. Droves. First and foremost, it is something distinctly different from a lot of Super Robot Wars, or just mecha shows in general, since it is a Magical Girl show. But all the Magical Girls are mecha coded. Like, oh, I have to find the picture. Hang on. I will probably not find this. Oh, I'm not going to find this. No, I wish I had that on hand. But there's a picture of one of the characters with, like, all of the weaponry she has access to. That is basically formatted just like the one shot from one of the endings from Gundam Built Divers Rearise. There's that. It's a smaller cast. You probably max out about like 7 to 8 units that you'd have to do for that series. It also is really nicely palatable to a lot of other series, just because, hey, it's a bunch of magical girls that are hooked up to a government organization. You slam that in any setting you want. Also, so much of the show is mecha coded already. Anyway, so many of the characters just do attacks that are literally based off other mecha. Anywho, for those wondering, what are the red highlights on this list? That's the stuff that made it in the SRWY. As you can see, a lot of people got what they wanted. So, anywho. Now, as someone who's seen all 5 seasons of the show, the tricky part with bringing Symphogear into an SRW game is Season 1, you only get about 2 characters for, like, most of your runtime. You'll get a 3rd character mid to late game because they play villain for basically that entire early game part. And the characters are not at, like, their peak. They are not at the point where they're punching a hole in the mountain, in like the 2nd tallest mountain in the world in order to rescue a space shuttle from crashing. That's a real thing that happens in the show. G is a little bit better because you get the main 3 for, like, most of the game. Or for the game. But you don't get, like, the other half of the core team of 6 until, like, that, again, mid to late game area because they're playing villains for that entire portion. And one of them technically isn't even in their base form at the end of the show. So you don't even get really them until you get to Season 3. But that's why I think I'll just scoot these down into supplemental. That season 3 and 4 are like your best points of adaptation for Symphogear for Super Robot Wars, because you get the core team of 6 off the bat for both of them. You can parse them out in the early game just to like let there be some unit acquisition, but at least in season 3 they have their it's not amalgam. Why can I not think of the name? Ignite mode. And the Ignite mode is like plot centric in season 3, and it's where it's get introduced. You can have Ignite kind of be a move acquisition in like your early to mid portion of the game. So that helps in the gameplay sense. Because mostly I'm talking about in the gameplay sense. Like plot sense, you probably are going to want to do these two because these are all your setup stuff. This gives you like the foundation of a lot of the series and characters and stuff. But from a gameplay sense, these two right here are your better options. Season 5 builds on some stuff from Season 4 and is basically the culmination of the show, so it's not a very good starting point. Plus, 3 and 4, Seasons 3 and 4 of Symphogear, give you the ability to possibly save the villain characters and redeem them and recruit them for the late game. Because there's options, because there's honestly options to do that for both of them. Personally, I think 3 would be better, but I wouldn't mind like pulling stuff from 4. I also say, if you want to give us our secret unit option, give us an option to somehow get Miku as like a permanent unit. To have our 7 Symphogears instead of just the core 6. I'll just hit whatever I see next that I know. And then grab associated material. So there's Rearise. I just spotted Build Fighters. I have to think the other two are here. Yep, there's vanilla Build Divers, not Rearise. That's Rearise again. I don't know why Rearise is here twice. Unless it's for like the second half of the show, because I think there was a break from the first and second halves of Rearise. Was that supposed to be Build Fighters Try? I lost my spot. There's definitely some repeats here, because that's the second time I've seen Macross Delta on this list. I'm pretty sure both of them are supposed to be the series. Yeah, I'm not seeing Fighters Try for some reason. It might have not took when this person did it. There is some dupe stuff in here. And those dupes might supposed to be other stuff. I'll look one last time. Just to be safe. If not, I'll just use that dupe. This dupe Build Divers as Fighters Try. So, the Build Fighter series for Gundam. You remember back in the 90s when all those anime cartoon shows on like Cartoon Network and all that were all about characters participating in some hobby toy thing, and they treated it like as a big deal sport that everybody was into. So Gundam did that a while back. And it's called Gundam Build Fighters initially. There's technically like a more like a proof of concept. I think it's called like Gundam the Begin, or not. Is it Gundam Beginning? It might be Gundam Builder the Beginning. I don't remember the exact name of it. I haven't seen it. But that's what the build fighters, or the build quadrilogy of shows here are. You can more honestly split them into duologies with Build Fighters Try, Build Divers, and Build Divers Re-Arise. So basically, the core conceit of all of these is you make your own Gundam, which is a thing folks do just normally. But now you can throw them into holographic generated arenas in the Build Fighter series, or as your avatar, as your mecha for a VR MMO in the Build Divers case, and you can go fight other Gundams and do other Gundam stuff. That's it. That's the entire point of the Build series. I adore it. It honestly, it's what really kicked me into Gundam properly, because I remember seeing G Gundam episodes like back in the day. But this is what made me like care. But here's like the problem. So with Build Fighters and Build Fighters Try, like I said, the Gundams are the model kits, which are like 4 to 6 inches tall. And the people piloting them are just like kids and just doing their own thing. So having them participate in an SRW game, especially because in the context of all 4 of these shows, Gundam is what it is to us, which is it is the franchise producing all of these model kits and shows and all of that. Meaning they know the plot of all the shows. So what happens when you throw characters who know what's going to happen with a Gundam show into an SRW game where that Gundam show is being adapted and taking place? That is like writing hurdles that I don't know how to overcome and how to deal with. Like, it's a fun challenge, don't get me wrong, but also, oh god. Talk about characters who've literally walked into a room and going, well, we know the spoilers. Also, none of you are real. But also, we're now questioning our existence because, wait, if you're real, does that mean we're fake? It's way more than the SRW game needs to get into, but that's what's on the table. So it's why I think, like, as much as I adore Fighters and Try, I don't think they're the best suited for this. Instead, I think Re-Arise is the better option. Because Re-Arise, even though it still has like that Gundam MMO stuff and all that is present from original Build Divers, most of Re-Arise is basically the cast getting teleported to an alien planet and helping them not die to an AI who's taken over a super weapon or built a super weapon to kill them all because it doesn't understand life. Don't ask questions. But you can still probably pull some of the Build Divers cast in with the Re-Arise adaptation, because like one of the big climactic points of the show is the original Build Divers cast showing up to help train our Re-Arise cast so they can beat the super weapon. And then, like, the final fight has, like, the Divers cast, the Re-Arise cast, and then whoever else they feel like having show up in that final sequence to do fun, cool stuff. I guess we're talking about Magical Girls again, because Nanoha's on this list. Because that's Strikers. I know I saw original... Well, that's... I think, like, the second movie they did. I've seen both. And I know I saw original Nanoha in here somewhere. God, this is a mess. I'm sure this isn't an order that makes sense to someone. I'm not it. This looks like just noise. That is hard to parse. Oh wow, why is we'll talk about that one since I see it. We talk about that one next. Okay, there's original Nanoha, and just next to it was says I lost my spot. Where did it go? There it is. There's A's, which is like the second season. Pause at the spot where that was. Thinking about where it was. I think I'm a little higher than that. I don't see the first like standalone Nanoha movie they did. Because they have the second one here, but they are kind of like a two-parter, so we'll just roll with it. So I'm not sure why Nanoha's here. Unlike Simple Gear, it's more like traditional Magical Girl. Except their gear is a lot more like tech coded rather than magic coded. It still has a magic basis, but it's a lot more tech focused, especially the later down the line you go. But I have a hard time feeling where Nanoha would fit in. I don't know. It's one of those times where I'm like, I'm not sure. I do think it's a neat idea of the franchise that the cast does grow over the course of the series. Like, Nanoha becomes basically a mentor to, like, a new group of, like, magical girls by the time we get to Strikers, and has a kid that basically takes a protagonist role in, like, the next season after that. These two standalone movies kind of follow up from the movie versions of seasons 1 and 2, and then kind of diverge and do their own thing for, like, 2 movies. Like, I could see it. I feel like it'd be best to do, like, these movies. That way you don't have, like, a ton of material I have to worry about. But I don't know about Nanoha, to be honest. I guess we'll grab the thing I saw. I saw one thing on there that I'm like, okay, this is weird to be here. But then I saw the other thing, I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. That makes more sense to be here. Let me grab the one. We'll scooch that up there. Is that the only, besides the movie, in terms of Transformers material on here? It might be. Also, I don't know why the image for Darling in the Franxx is so huge in comparison to everything else. Yeah, there's Transformers the movie. I don't think there's anything else Transformers. I don't see anything. Okay. So let's talk Transformers. Because as difficult as it probably be for Transformers to get into the Super Robot Wars games, because the SRW games are done by Bandai. Well, technically Bandai Namco. And Transformers is owned by Takara. Yes, I said Takara. Technically, they own Transformers, not Hasbro. There is a bunch of Transformers games, but there is not a SRW game with Transformers in it because Takara and Bandai don't talk to each other. That they don't have a working relationship as far as I know. And also, if you're to bring Transformers into a game and have it go international, now Hasbro has to be in the conversation. And as someone who follows Toku, let me tell you how much of a pain in the ass that would that be. Boy, boy is Hasbro like a cock blocker right now when it comes to Power Rangers and Super Sentai and all that. Anywho, Transformers has a lot of different continuities, basically. It has a lot of different series that have like very different feels to them. And personally speaking, even though I hate to say this, one of your best options for bringing Transformers into Super Robot Wars is old-ass original Generation 1 Transformers. And I say that knowing full well how much people are sick of Generation 1. People are about as sick as Generation 1 Transformers, predominantly being Transformers, as much as Power Rangers fans hate Mighty Morphin Power Rangers being predominantly what Power Rangers is, as much as, like, Pokemon folks not liking how much Generation 1 of Pokemon is, like, the face of the franchise. In Digimon, when it comes to the Adventure Cast and how much they're the face of the franchise, it's that same core conceit. We get it. It's the original series. It's the thing people grew up with. There's more to the franchise than this one set of things. But, Generation 1, I think, works the best because just to pick through some of the ones, especially the ones I like. Beast Wars doesn't really fit Super Robot Wars because it primarily takes place on prehistoric Earth. So having that work into a Super Robot Wars game where you're most likely going to be jumping around different locations and stuff doesn't work. And also the Beast Wars cast is the size of the animals they are based on rather than giant robots. So that kind of takes it down a bit. Beast Machines follows up from Beast Wars and is primarily on a Megatron controlled Cybertron, so that doesn't work. I don't know much about RID, but that could work. But it's a lot of Earth-focused stuff, so maybe not. Armada is mainly about picking up the Minicons, so unless you have the Minicons floating around the galaxy rather than all on Earth, problem. Or at least in the solar system, rather than primarily on Earth. That doesn't work. Energon falls up from Armada. Doesn't really work. Cybertron works because you're hopscotching across 4 planets in that series. So that's an option. Animated, again, it's Earth-based. Most of the villains in Animated are human. So there's not a whole lot to go there. And Prime is primarily Earth-based as well, so that doesn't really work. But Generation 1, it's spacefaring, and you have the movie, probably one of the most, like, noteworthy things of the franchise. And why is the movie important? Because... and this would be my pitch. Want to know why you would adapt Generation 1, at least the movie, and use that as your basis for Transformers being in Super Robot Wars? Because, simply put, you get one specific fight that'll make everything better. Because no matter who it is, it's fine because they get to fight. Oh, wow. That is a tiny image. That's a better image. You get to fight Unicron. That's one of your in-game boss fights, is fighting Unicron. You get to fight Unicron with a fucking Gundam. Is he planet-sized? Yes. Does it matter? No. You're getting to fight Unicron with a fucking Gundam. That is your selling point. That is literally the entire reason Godzilla Singular Point is in SRWY, because that show is not particularly good by a lot of people's accounts. It is mostly people talking science jargon for 90% of its runtime, and Godzilla is barely in that fucking show. But you know what? It's an animated Godzilla series. It has a robot. And the entire point of getting it into Super Robot Wars Y is so you can fight Godzilla with a fucking Gundam. Here is the entire reason you picked Generation 1, specifically Transformers the movie, to be in Super Robot Wars. You fight Unicron with a goddamn Gundam. That's enough. That's all it has to be. Like, you can do more fun stuff with that. I would pitch that you find a way to, like, secret point your way into saving Optimus and have him not die wholly. Instead, he's off the table for a good portion of the game until he gets to come back and basically gets a team-up attack with Rodimus. Because that sounds fun. But yeah, this is why you do the movie. Because this is your end fight. You end the trailer with, like, the start of one of Unicron's attacks. Because that's basically what they did for SRWY for one of the trailers, was like they ended it with Godzilla showing up and ready to kick someone's ass. Now, for War for Cybertron, I forgot to talk about it before that. That's one of the mini Transformers games. It's kind of a prequel to a lot of, like, your basic Transformer stuff. It's kind of supposed to be a prequel to G1, but it doesn't really work that way. It's all Cybertron based. It's basically the Autobots and Decepticons fighting it out, and eventually the Autobots going, in Fall of Cybertron, fuck this, we're leaving. And the Decepticons going, follow! And thus leading to G1, basically. It doesn't really work for Super Robot Wars. And I don't think there's really anything you could pull from the of Cybertron games for an SRW. But yeah, this that works. What next? Guess I'll talk because there's Gridman. But I think Dinosaur was down a little bit. I mean, that's what Transformers are. They are sentient machines on a sentient world with sentient machines. Just so you know, that is Transformers. I mean, yeah, that's how you basically introduce them if you're going to have them go to Cybertron, is like, oh, because like we've been crossing dimensions and hopscotching the galaxy in other SRW games. It is not out of the realm of possibility of them teleporting into, like, in the vicinity of Cybertron and having to deal with it. Yeah, Super Robot Wars has done that. There are plenty of instances of the mecha being just people. So that's not a problem. The entire Brave series is basically that. But with the SRW games, each of the games amalgamates a world from all the different properties. So, like, basically, you could just have Unicron showing up late game to eat Earth, like Galactus does, and that's just how you get your Unicron boss fight. No, the Super Robot Wars, like, there's a Super Robot Wars OG that is its own thing, but each of the SRW games are their own separate universes, basically, that amalgamate and kind of, like, softly mold the respective series and franchises and all that they're in that game into one existent world that has always been that way. So, like, in SRWY, it's a world where Code Geass happened, Mazinger happened, Getter Robo happened, etc., etc., etc. Like, none of these are different dimensions unless they explicitly were supposed to be different dimensions in their original media. They just existed all together. Everybody just knows each other. Like, Amuro knows fucking Domon Kashu from G Gundam because they fought side by side. That just happened in the backstory, and it's cool. Anywho, where was... Oh, there's Diane Zenon. So, the last or this Super Robot Wars game, Super Robot Wars Y, and 30 have both utilized the two Gridman shows, basically. 30 brought in SSSS Gridman, or as I like to call it, S4 Gridman, because that's a lot simpler to say. And Super Robot Wars Y has brought in S4 Dynazenon. Both of these are anime shows based off the original Gridman series that take original Gridman and kind of do their own thing with it, but still keep true to its tokusatsu roots, but also technically be sequels to the Gridman show. Don't worry about that part. Anywho, I adore both of these shows, and I would not mind them being back, especially because I guess it's better to just slide them in down here. Gridman Universe is kind of like the finale of this little trilogy of material and brings together the Gridman cast and the Dynazenon cast and gets a kind of metatextual, but within the context of the universe, about Gridman and all of the stuff it's done. Basically, it's just a way for these two shows to interact with each other and their characters to interact, and us to cross support crews and make new combinations and fight bad guys. That's really it. So basically, like, the next Super Robot Wars game should just do Gridman Universe and bring in the Gridman and Dynazenon cast, because they've already done all the animation work for all parties involved, except for the new stuff that would be Gridman Universe based. So don't mind me. I was checking to see if there was a Soto blog for Ryder this week. It looks like no. I'm not surprised. The next set's a bit of a ways off. But yeah, anywho. Yeah, the next one should just do Gridman Universe and just be the cap off to the soft trilogy of adapted material. I'm waiting for SRWY to just outright state that the Grid Knight that has shown up in SRWY is technically the Grid Knight that showed up in SRW 30. Since, in the context of Dynazenon, Knight crosses dimensions to enter the Dynazenon show from the dimension the Gridman show takes place in. So if they just take that part and go, oh yeah, this is the Grid Knight from SRW 30, I that would be crazy, and I would enjoy that. What next? Of things I'm familiar with, at least, that aren't just things that are in SRWY. There's J-Decker. We'll talk about the Brave stuff. I guess I'll talk about this, because it's kind of an odd thing to be here, and I'm not sure how that would work, but I'm also not, like, familiar. Okay, there's, like, 3 Armored Cores here. Okay, sure. We'll just talk about all 3 of them, even though I do not know these games. I guess we'll do that next. So, Armored Core is a mecha video game franchise from Software. You know, the Dark Souls people, and the Elden Ring people, and the Demon Souls people, and the Bloodborne people. Those people. This is what they made before all that, basically. Was they made the original Armored Core, and then did that series for a while, and then they eventually got to Demon Souls, and then Dark Souls, and then Bloodborne, and then Elden Ring, and all that stuff. It's still the same idea of what all of those Souls games are like. It's just as a mecha series, and by a mecha series, I mean a very dystopic universe of mecha. But I'll be honest, I'm not super familiar with Armored Core. I know Bandai's been doing a lot of model kits for 6 under their 30-minute missions line. So there is precedent for a working relationship to bring in Armored Core. I think my only problem is that I don't know if there's really characters in Armored Core to work with. Like, there's clearly a universe and a setting to work with, but it's primarily on one planet out in space, dealing with one resource, at least in Rubicon, from what I remember from watching one video that explained the story of Fires of Rubicon. So, like, having that one centrally located thing is a little difficult unless you find a way to get people off planet but still be plot relevant. So I don't know, like, I'll just say, like, for the crossover appeal of it, like, sure, throw Armored Core in there. I'll see what happens when you throw a franchise where the main character is not a character into a series where they kind of have to be a character to interact with other characters. Like, fucking sure. I guess I'll talk about this because technically only so much of this has been adapted, and I'm at a certain point where I want to talk about it. So, Gundam Witch from Mercury is like the second most recent Gundam show. The most recent one is actually called G-Quox. It's spelled really weird. Don't ask me why it's spelled that way. Don't even ask me why it's named that way. G-Quox is... It was certainly something I watched, and I don't know if I can have the best opinion about it because I am not entrenched in the UC Gundam lore and interest. So it's a little hard for me to, like, care, I feel like, because there's stuff I would liked about G-Quox, but it felt like that wasn't the main point of the show. But I really enjoy G-Witch, and the, like, first season of G-Witch is in SRWY, but only so much of it, just due to the timing of when SRWY was in development. Only so much of the show had premiered when it was decided it would be a part of the game. I think I'm actually past the point where the show material is there, and it's going to diverge and go elsewhere at this point. Where that goes, I don't know yet. Like I said, I'm only into chapter 4, and one of those, the mission that kind of capped off that stuff was like one of the last missions of chapter 3. So I don't know where G-Witch goes from here, but I am really curious what a full G-Witch adaptation looks like. Especially since it's all on the table. And especially because of how that show ends, how do you basically keep Soleto around to continue piloting? Like, a lot of G-Witch's, like, finale stuff kind of puts the pilots to bed and, like, you're not piloting anymore, these Gundams don't exist anymore, which kind of goes against how the, like, SRW games operate. They kind of have to let you keep the characters around to play with them, unless they are, like, plot critical to die. But I'm really curious what a full adaptation, playing with everything G-Witch has to offer instead of just a little tiny bit. But because I will say, the tiny little bit they've gotten to play with, which is basically Soleta, Miorine, and the rest of Earth House, has been fantastic. Soleta has been her endearing self, and absolutely, like, I love every interaction she has with anybody on this cast. Miorine basically gets to like, go above and beyond what she got to do in the show. By being like, well, I go from running a business to, like, being, like, helping finance an entire independent nation and managing a band, a intergalactic band that, like, helps the military force take care of an invading or a hostile enemy planet. Like, bring G-Witch back for another go. Like, I know, like, another the next SRW game might want to is going to prioritize, like, G-Quox and Seed Freedom, but I think G-Witch deserves more time in the spotlight. I'm going to give G-Witch a full shot. I think it could do some really fun stuff. What next? I don't want to pick something a bit kind of off the wall to talk about. That I'm decently familiar with. Actually, I think I know. Let me grab this. And let me grab... is it just the 2 Zone of the Enders? Yes. There is, like, multiple dimensions in some of the SRW games. Like, Super Robot Wars X, I believe, has 3 distinct universes that the different franchises are from. And there is kind of bouncing back and forth between them. Like, it kind of just depends on the game and depends on what they need. If they need something to be an alternate universe, they need it to. Like, I guess before I talk about that game stuff, where's Ray Earth? I know I saw Magical Knight Ray Earth. There it is. So, like, Magical Knight Ray Earth, it's another Magical Girl show, except the Magical Girls pilot giant robots in our knights. Kind of says it all in the name, really. But they are basically 3 girls that get isekai'd into a fantasy, or they don't really get isekai'd, they get teleported to a fantasy world to take up these mantles and to fight some bad guys. So that whole, them being from, like, normal, like, the main setting of that SRW game and going to this alternate dimension is preserved. So there is that alternate dimension where the bad guys are from that do hop over and try to invade. Also, even though I've only had 1 game of experience with them, which is 30, which is rough sometimes with adaptation because there was so much material in 30, I would not say no to Ray Earth coming back. But yeah, Zone of the Enders, I'm not super familiar with Zone of the Enders outside of, oh yeah, that's that mecha show, that's that mecha games that Kojima made. It's the closest we'll get to having a Metal Gear Rex being a Super Robot Wars game. Is about the base level of understanding that I have of Zone of the Enders. Because otherwise, it is Kojima through and through. And I say I don't know, but there's Hideki Anno stuff in Super Robot Wars games. And, like, I'll be honest, him and Anno are cut from the same cloth, I feel like, at times. So, honestly, like, mixing Zone of the Enders with one of Anno's things, honestly, would probably work. I mean, I won't... Look, when it comes to power scaling and stuff being OP, it doesn't matter. We've got stat stuff to handle that. Look, we've had, like, Mazinger Zero be in Super Robot Wars games, and that in its lore is, like, the basis for all mecha, basically, because it can do everything. That's not far off from Iron-Blooded Orphans. Like, less dying and more, like, is basically paralyzed unless he's in the mech after a certain point with Iron-Blooded Orphans. So, like, I'm sure they could ride their way around that and make it work. Because Mikazuchi, like, he's, like, down an arm and can't walk unless he is piloting the mech. Well, as soon as he's piloting the mech, oh, I can use my arms and all that. Xenogears, I'm not super familiar with. I just know it's like, this is the thing the Monolith Soft people tried to make into a thing, and then it fell apart on them, and then they tried again with Xeno Saga, and that fell apart on them, and then they tried again with Xenoblade, and that worked. And basically has Nintendo writing them blank checks because they are basically the main support team for Nintendo now. So now they just get to make whatever they want because Nintendo's like, all right, as long as you make sure our whatever new open world game we do runs like butter, we don't care. Make whatever you want. Here's a blank check. Write in the zeros when you're done. You make more than enough money back. Even if your games don't perform super well, you make your money back being the support studio for like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom and all the other major Switch titles, so go make whatever you want. But yeah, it is an RPG that does have the characters piloting mechs for part of its combat. So I guess, but I don't know how well that'd work in the context of an SRW game, especially since it's its own world and stuff. But you know what, fuck it, throw it in there. We'll see what happens. They have to go talk to Square about that one though, because Square Enix owns the rights to Xenogears. Yeah, they have Xenogears. I believe Bandai Namco has Xenosaga, and then Monolith Soft has Xenoblade. Well, them and Nintendo have Xenoblade, which means that's never happening. If you see something on here in these pictures and stuff and want me to try to talk about it, I will try. Some of these I'm like, I recognize this name, but otherwise I don't know what the hell this is. There's Gaoka. Oh, actually, you know what? Speaking of game stuff, there's one Sakura Wars thing. There's the other Sakura Wars thing. Do they only have like that one OVA series and like the series? Yes. We'll still go with that. So Sakura Wars, they had some of the units show up as DLC in Super Robot Wars 30. Now, if you don't know what Sakura Wars is, I don't blame you. We only got like 3 of the games in English. I don't even know if it was internationally. It was at least stateside that they got 3 of them. It is not technically feudal Japan. It is Taisho era Japan. It's technically steampunk Japan, basically. So, Sakura Wars, it's basically you have a group of pilots that use mecha to fight demons in like Taisho era Japan, which is like when Japan was starting to like have like cultural crossover with America and all that, or like internationally, basically. So it's a little bit of alternate history with that. But yeah, it is basically people fighting, like specifically it is a like secret squad of the Japanese military using mecha to fight demons. And I do mean demons. And it gets better because like that's just the first 2 games. The third one is in Paris, where now it's the Paris combat team fighting demons. And then the 4th game has like the Japanese and Paris teams coming together. And then the 5th one's in America. In like 1800s America, i.e. cowboy time America, fighting demons with mecha. It sounds weird, I know. Ava, there's a few things of Ava on here. Look, what I've seen of Sakura Wars, it looks really good. I've tried playing the game a little bit, but I haven't gotten back to it. I can definitely say, if you want like a better idea of what Sakura Wars is, because I'm probably not giving it the best sell. This retrospective series done by Matt Boy, or Matt B, covers basically from the first game all the way through the theatrical movie at the current moment. They actually just released this a couple days ago. But this gives a nice like look at the Sakura Wars franchise, because this is huge in Japan, like long-running stage shows in Japan. So like, yeah, I guess since they're technically veterans, I'll put them there. Since you mentioned Ava, I know I've seen some Ava on here. I have to see if I can spot it all. Because there's... I don't know which one it is. I think that might be 3.0. Actually, is that... That's 3.0 plus 1.0. No, there's more. I think the whole movie series is on here. Which, I'll be honest, I tried to watch the first one of those when it was on Toonami back in the day, and I was incredibly bored. I hate to say it, Ava doesn't do anything for me. Maybe it was just that first movie, but, like, that first movie was boring. That's the end of Evangelion, which, like, I guess that goes here. Oh, hi, Chronicles X. How you doing? I didn't realize you were here for no good reason. That might be it. That might be all the Ava on this list. I'm not entirely sure. Oh, there's another armor core. Let me just put this with the other armor cores, or the other supplemental armor cores. That might be it. Hello.
Took you long enough.
I was trying to find all the instances of Evangelion on here, and I think I found them all. I guess this will be the last one I do, so we can get set up. I have no hard opinions about Ava. It was fine. Honestly, I don't know. I won't say no to Ava, but I'm not going to say yes. Especially this meta nonsense that is that last movie, because I know what happens in that movie. And, yeah, I might do more of this again, instead of trying to play Halo. Also, I assume this is still technically cubage.
I mean, not really, but sure. Also, we are totally doing Prime 2 multi-world when the time comes for that.
Oh, is it cooperating?
I have the point tracker ready.
Hooray!
Oh, I guess I do only have one Triforce shard. I thought I had two. I was like, wait, what? Dashboard's updated, waiting on you to join the stream together and to get your stuff ready.
Okay. Oh, hey, it's saved on the pop tracker. That makes it a little easier.
I mean, even if it didn't, when you reconnected the pop tracker, it would grab it again. Okay, I had two overworld stuff.
Oh no, what
And
happened with
Wind
Link's
Temple.
Awakening? Oh, there it is. That. It's wonderful to just like stumble your way into sequence breaking. I need it.
Yeah.
That sounds right. That sounds right for old school Zelda, if I'm being honest.
I am ready if you are.
I know you didn't care for the Link's Awakening remake because of visually. It sounds like
Yeah,
you
it's
may
the
have.
same reason I didn't care for the Pokemon remake that was in that same style. I don't
Oh,
know, it just didn't look right.
the Diamond and Pearl one.
Yeah.
I mean, the Diamond and Pearl one was fun for like the first day or so because the busted, broken speedrun that you could accomplish with it. And then they patched all that out, and then it was like, oh. Pretty sure it's the only Pokemon game that you can do a pacifist run in. Anywho, I need to take the stream down. We'll be right back with the rest of the Wind Waker Rando here in a second, folks.